what do we mean then by unemployment? And our unemployment is now going to be linked to that growth graph that we've just seen previously. So if we think about it in microeconomic terms, if we have a labor market, we've got labor versus wages, price of labor, right? If we have at some price level a demand that is not the same as the supply, then we have unemployment, right? In other words, if we were at a price level WE, where our labor demand equaled our labor supply, then we could say we would have not quite no unemployment, but you'll see what I mean in a moment. Because we never have no unemployment, which sounds complicated, but it's not. So what is the unemployment rate, first of all? Then what are the types? Then what do we mean by full employment? So in other words, here, at this point here, we would have full employment. Full employment does not mean no unemployment. And we will make that distinction clear. So, what is the unemployment rate? The natural rate of unemployment at full employment. So, what am I talking about? What is the unemployment rate? It's the number of unemployed divided by the labor force. When we talk about the NRU, which is the natural rate of unemployment, we're talking about the rate of unemployment when we are at full employment. So let's just see what that means in the practical terms. Here's some data. Okay, so 2008 in South Africa. Here's our population, 15 to 64, which is to say, here's our working age population. Okay, wait, this is 2008. Let's do something a little bit more exciting. Okay, if we go to the South African data section, let's go to Stats SA. Okay, and then if we look at, say, there's unemployment. Okay, so this is the latest unemployment figures. Let's see what it says. Have I missed it? Okay, here we go. Okay, so the latest unemployment figures are January to March 2014, right? Population, working age. Okay, so the working age population is 35,177. So previously it was, let's just go back to where we were. Okay, so previously we said it was something like 30,800. Now it is 35,000. Okay. So working age population 35,000. Okay. Labor force characteristics. Oh, here we go. So population 35,000. What is the labor force? It's 20,000. What does that mean by the labor force? Well, we need the number of employed people, the number of unemployed people, right? And the number of not economically active. So we refer to the labor force as those who are not economically active, those who are unemployed, and those who are employed. What is the difference then between the labor force, 20,000, and the population? The difference between them is, well, actually this other table is going to be a little bit easier because that one's got too much information. So here's our labor force, and here's our not economically active. Okay? So we take the not economically active, we add it to the labor force, and we get the population. Yeah?
Sorry, what does it mean to be?
Cool. So one of the categories of not economically active is discouraged work seekers. In other words, you're not employed, but you are not looking for work. Right? So you are not economically active. Okay? The other people who are not economically active, like we said, if you're in prison, you're not economically active. If you're at school, you're not. Yeah.
Is the NRU like the equilibrium for the labor market?
Yes. So in other words, if we look at our labor force, right, which is 17, and we add it to our not economically active, then we're going to get the total population in this age group. Okay? If you are less than 15 or you are above 65, you are not even in this age group, right? So in other words, if you're 6, whether you're at school or you're not at school, you are not part of the labor force, right? You are not economically active. You are not economically not. I mean, you are. You're not. Whatever. You're not economically active, right? You don't fall into that category anyway. So about 35,000, we've got our labor force, and then we've got our not economically active. Of our labor force, we have our people who are employed and our people who are unemployed. When we calculate an unemployment rate then, so in the book, it's got how you do the calculations, but we have here unemployment rate, right? Currently 25%. What does that mean? That means the number of unemployed people divided by the labor force is 25%. Okay? We only have 5,000 unemployed people, or sorry, not 5,000, 5 million unemployed people, right? Is that really a good reflection of how many people are not doing work? So another good measure to look at is to say the following. The number of people employed, so this number here, 15, divided by the population, in other words, those that could be employed, which is this number here, right? 15 divided by 35 tells us that only 42% of the population in South Africa are in some kind of work. Of the working age population are actually doing some kind of work. So just under 1 in 2 people that could be working between the ages of 15 and 64 are working. That is more like unemployment of 50%, if you want to think of it in that sense, right? And then we have the labor force participation rate, which just says how many people are in the labor force out of the number of people that could be in the labor force, and that's only, this number here, that's only 57% anyway. Okay. So in other words, this number here, 25% of the people unemployed, doesn't take into account these people here who aren't looking for jobs, and it doesn't take into account these people over here who are just for some other reason not in a job, because they're studying like at university or they're in prison or I'm not sure. Oh, if you're like in hospital or something, I think long term. I don't know. Okay. Anyway, in other words, you're not looking for a job. Yeah. That's right. So just as a summary then, the labor force is those people who are employed and those people who are unemployed. Doesn't include these guys not looking for work. Doesn't include these guys who aren't in work for whatever reason and aren't looking for work. And it doesn't include anyone outside of this age range. So what is our true employment rate? In other words, how many people out of the total population of South Africa are potentially in a job that is somehow captured in these statistics? Maybe, what, 35%? Just over 1 in 3 people maybe are actually generating some kind of economic activity. Production.
The employment statistic considers informal jobs.
Does it consider informal jobs?
Like street vendors and people.
So it does have some estimate of informal. There's the informal sector. But I mean, it's pretty difficult to figure that one out. Yeah?
So for people studying medicine, what is the need to study medicine?
Why can't I study this?
No, not just medicine.
Okay, yeah. So you want to study at UNISA and you want to work?
Yeah, and then you do not work in which category are you under?
Well, if you are formally employed, you are in the formal sector employed.
But if you don't work anymore but you're still studying, don't you
If you are not working and you're studying and you're not looking for a job, right? Then you are not economically active. Because you're not looking for a job. If you are studying but you're looking for a job, technically then you are unemployed. Where you get captured in there would depend on, because what Stats SA will do is they will do surveys and they will ask people. So if they asked you specifically, are you looking for a job, and you said yes, then they'll put you in the unemployed. Yeah? How does that? Okay, everyone happy with these things? So if here's a nice little diagram. You've got the population. Of the population, you have the working age population. Of the working age population, you have the labor force. Of the labor force, you have the number of employed and the number of unemployed. The unemployment rate is just take this red part and divide it by this bottom part, which is the labor force. That's how you get the unemployment rate. Which is why it looks like it's only 25%, whereas it's not a true reflection of how many people are actually, in some sort of employment.